Hey everyone, welcome back. Today we're going to be talking about Soulframe. This game's been going through public alpha testing, referred to as Preludes, for the past year or so. I've played a fair bit myself, starting back in November 2024, and then returning to check in on the game and see what's changed every couple of months. What's currently here in the game is essentially Tutorial Island. The devs have called it as much themselves, with it more or less being a sandbox in which they keep adding and testing new systems, features, and content, fleshing it out and adding to the foundation of what will be the future game. As such, currently, Soulframe, it does still very much feel like an alpha product, and it clearly has a long road ahead before we get to a 1.0 release. Nevertheless, I really dig the game. I've cleared over 100 hours now. I still haven't even unlocked half of the game's progression, which includes the various weapons, armor, and classes. Even still, in general, I have a really good time playing the game, even in its unfinished state. I don't know if I have that reach. I don't know if my birds actually hit that far. My bow is busted right now, though. I deal AoE damage when I hit, so it'll hit nearby enemies when I strike people. Yeah, I'm pretty excited for this game's future. I already like it, and it's not even really a fully fleshed out game yet, so I'm pretty excited to see where it goes. I've already made multiple videos on this game, and I suspect there will be many more to come in the future as well, because I just genuinely enjoy the thing that they are building here. Progress you make carries over through this fucking music, and the music in this game is so fucking good. I'm gonna crank this.
Everywhere, the seed.
I love the vibes in this game. They're so good. Oh, it's cute as hell, dude. Getting teary-eyed. Now, last week, they released their latest update, Preludes 12, which added even more new content, additional quality of life improvements, and the much requested hard mode, as well as marking the official start of their Founders Pack program. Digital Extremes did reach out to sponsor this video. They wanted me to tell you about the recent update, and of course to let you know that the Founders Packs are now available should you be so inclined. But Founders Packs or not, there are tons of ways to get access to Soulframe's Preludes testing. If you get in, it's playable 24/7. It's just always up. And so there's a bunch of ways to get a key. You can register on the website for a chance to be drawn. I know that every week they invite 2,000 new people. I also know that when they do their dev streams once a month, if you link your Soulframe account, which you just make on the website, to your Twitch account, I'm pretty sure just people who watch the dev streams for a certain amount of time just get keys. Also, a bunch of people, Founders Packs are out now, so you can buy one for $30 if you just want to get in without having to wait. But keep in mind, anyone who buys a Founders Pack gets free codes to give away. And so there's a bunch of people giving away codes if you check the Soulframe subreddit or the Soulframe Discord. Now, if you like what you see in this video, we do have links in the description below. But with all that out of the way, let's get into talking about the game. So what is Soulframe? This is a question that comes up a lot whenever I stream the game. There seems to still be a fair bit of confusion about what kind of game it is, what there is to do. So let's go ahead and clear all of that up. At its core, this is an open world, third-person action combat game. It does share a lot of DNA with the studio's prior title, Warframe, especially in terms of the progression systems and its overall gameplay loop. It's just presented in quite a different package. As I've mentioned in prior videos, in a lot of ways, Soulframe is kind of meant to be an inverse of Warframe, in particular with its setting, the theming, and the pacing. Warframe is sci-fi, you play as this ninja out in space, whereas Soulframe is more medieval fantasy, and you're here to push back this corruption and save the animals, with a touch of Princess Mononoke inspiration in there as well. Warframe is really focused on shooting with combat that is fast-paced and frenetic, whereas Soulframe is more focused on melee and magic, moving at a much slower, heavier pace. And lastly, Warframe is primarily a lobby-based game, while Soulframe is just a full-on open world. And yes, this is an open world title. You've got this one big, open, seamless space, which you're moving around and exploring quite a few different things. So for starters, you've got this large assortment of points of interest. These include enemy camps, towns, towns, strongholds, ruins, and more. Primarily, these will be full of the Sinecure faction of enemies, with the occasional secret in there to discover, and some additional enemy factions. And a fair few points of interest even have hidden dungeon entrances inside of them to discover. I'm gonna go level up my faction rep. We'll head to the social hub real quick. I can show you guys that. Oh, hold up. This is what always happens with this game. I always get distracted by, I like mean to do something, and then I get distracted by another camp, another point of interest, another animal to collect. There's also world bosses, as you expect. These are challenging fights out in the open world. And the reason you want to engage in them is because they reward special resources and can drop some really powerful enhancements for your weapons. Oh, this is a boss, yeah?
History is rewritten line by line.
I can't tell if it's the bell or if it's head. I think it's the bell. I think I'm getting crit damage on the bell. Got him. Oh, Zelda is very good with a bow. There's a massive damage multiplier as well. It's not just that you can easily line up a headshot. You get a big damage multiplier on said headshots. It's really, really nice. One other big type of content is this entire system of dungeons, with over 25 dungeon locations in the game currently, and these are kept fresh by their use of procedural room placement, on top of there being multiple dungeon themes, all of which we'll go into detail in a moment here. There's also social hubs, 3 different factions in the game, each with their very own social hub location. These are hidden behind some sort of a quest or requirement that you have to fulfill before you can enter, inside of which you're gonna see just other players walking around. All right, so we are at Hilly Den. This is the social hub for my faction. It's hidden. You had to, the first time you got here, you had to solve a puzzle in this room, and then you gained access to this hidden doorway. And then you walk on down, and let me introduce you to the home of the Sprout folk. So here you will see other players, mostly other people aligned with this faction, although you can visit the other social hubs. Couple of guards here, just keeping an eye on things, you know. And then we travel inside, and this is Alka's Children, the name of the faction. This is their enclave inside of the hollows of a tree. Got a couple of other players chilling out in here. I would say at most I've seen something like 15 players or so in this space. Speaking of factions, yes, there are 3 of them to choose from. You pick one, and then you can engage in this faction rep grind. You do things in the open world. This raises your reputation, and then unlocks access to purchase various recipes and consumables from the vendors. Your ranking, so I'm rank 1 right now. I need to do world quest for them and rescue animals and clear corruption to continue to level this up. And then they have a whole system of purchasing stuff from the faction vendor. Different pieces of armor, different currencies. This is literally a class, O Tempest 3-star pact. It's just, you just unlock that as well. There are also world quests. So once you do pick a faction, you're going to unlock the world quest system, at which point you will find your faction NPCs out in the open world. Interacting with them will set you out on a chain of world quests to complete. These come from 1 to 3-star variants, which pretty much dictates the number of steps and the difficulty of the quest chain. And in general, these world quest chains just have you going from one point to another, doing things like killing a group of enemies, rescuing animals, clearing back corruption, and taking down various bosses. The open world is also full of all sorts of collectibles with various resources, plants, and currencies for you to find and pick up. And there's also a lot of different kind of mini games and puzzles out in the open world. For one, you have these wild animals running around, which you can charm, and they will give you things that are used to enhance your weapons. Okay, so this right here, I literally had no clue this was a mechanic. So totems are the weapon enchantments, essentially, or mods that give you various perks to your weapons. There's a mini game where if you do the spectral sight, which I think by default is on Q, run up to an animal, hit light attack, plays this mini game, which I had no fucking clue about, and then you capture the animal and you get a totem. I just got a totem. I had no clue that was a thing. You'll also come across these broken down statues, which you can then reassemble, granting you resources and a temporary stat buff. All right, next up, let's talk in a little more detail about the dungeon system. So as mentioned, there are 25 dungeon locations in the game currently. These are spread all throughout the entire map, and some of which will be hidden in some of the existing points of interest that we talked about. Or you're also going to find them maybe inside of a cave or at the base of a ravine. Lots of different locations. You come across the entrance to the dungeon, and then you step inside. So these dungeons are divided into 4 categories, or location types is probably the better way to describe it. You have got dungeons in the Undercity, the Glades, the Neothunes, and then the Crypts. So the Undercity locations, this is this ancient underground city and cavern system. The Glades are kind of like these misty forest and plains. Neothunes are these underground tunnel systems with a lot of tree roots and giant mushrooms. And then the Crypts are sort of like catacombs of these malevolent specters that you have to fight back. Now, every single one of those dungeons will be slightly different each time you run them, and that is thanks to how they do this procedural room placement, with each dungeon type basically comprised of multiple tile sets that are pieced together differently every time you run the dungeon. All right, and we also have a dungeon entrance in here. Maybe I'll run a dungeon for you guys real quick. Okay, here's the Durmark Undercity. So this is one of those procedurally laid out dungeons. You go in. The door behind you closes, a new instance of the dungeon spins up in front of you, and then the door opens. Every time you run these, so for this particular location, you're gonna see the same thing at the entrance here, but the rooms that you're connected to will change, and sometimes you'll see some rooms and other times you won't. So how it works basically is like, here's a room, then there'll be an adjacent room. In this run, I got this room first in this direction. Other runs, there could be a room in this direction, a room in this direction. Then I've got a connecting hallway here, which is leading to another room, and that's basically how they do their dungeons. All of their dungeons, there's 4 different basically settings, and then every setting has an assortment of room and hallway combinations, and they are always procedurally placed. So you can go in the same dungeon entrance over and over and over again, and every time you do it, it'll have a different layout of rooms and hallways. So all of that aforementioned content you are engaging with as you go through what is the main gameplay and progression loop in Soulframe, which is gathering what you need to craft your weapons, your armor, and your classes, which are referred to as packs. Then, once you have them, you want to go and level them up, improving their stats and unlocking skills in corresponding skill trees. So what this looks like is you will go out into the world and you will run the content. You eventually find recipes, gather the resources, and craft the item. Once it is crafted, you equip it. So say you craft a new weapon, you equip it, and then you craft a new class and you equip it, and then you want to go out and play with it. In the process, gaining experience and leveling it up. When you level up weapons, these can go to a maximum of 30, and every new level will increase that weapon's stats. Also, every 6 levels, you get the skill point to spend in the corresponding combat arts, which are essentially skill trees for each of the weapon classes in the game. All right, I wanted to see if I leveled up any more combat arts. I did. Every 6 levels, you level a weapon. So 6, 12, 18, you get another point in the combat arts. This is essentially the different types of weapons in the game. You get skill trees for them. So anytime you use a bow, you level the bow 6 levels, you get another point to spend in the bow skill tree. And this will apply to any bow that you use. And the same applies for all the other classes of weapons, which I'll just show you real quick. Classes of weapons are sword and shield, long blades, magic, like staffs and shit, short blades, pole arms, fly blades. This is my offhand weapon currently. Great swords, the big 2-handed ones, and then finally the bow. And every weapon class has multiple different unique weapons that you can find, craft, and then use. Leveling your class or pact also makes it stronger and gives you points to spend into the corresponding pact skill tree, different enhancements tailored to your different preferred playstyle. And then armor doesn't actually have a level. It's just a simple process of finding the recipe, gathering the resources, and then crafting the armor. Then you put it on depending on whatever visual/defensive bonuses you prefer. There's also several systems of enhancements to make your weapon stronger. You've got totems, runes, and joineries. Totems you get from doing that animal charming mini game that we mentioned earlier. You'll also find totems whenever you rescue animals from their cages. Runes can be farmed at the game's various world bosses. In fact, just recently I got one that provided a huge buff and damage multiplier, vaporizing enemies whenever I activate it, which is really cool stuff. Oh shit, I want to steal a soul. I got a huge buff for my bow. Does a lot of damage, and then also vaporizes any enemies that I kill. Watch us. He just kind of disintegrates and floats up in the air. It's great. And then the joineries are used at the blacksmith and provide a flat stat improvement for your weapons, doing things like increasing its base damage, attack speed, damage multipliers like increased headshot damage, adding life leech, etc. Quite a lot of enhancements you can put on your weapons by reforging them at the blacksmith with the joineries. The gameplay loop looks like this. You know, you start the game, you're going to play through the tutorial, then you pick a class or your starting pact and whatever weapons you want to start with to begin. Then, with your class and the weapons that you choose, you go around doing all the content we talked about, in the process collecting recipes and resources, which then allow you to craft new weapons and new classes. While those are building, you'll rinse and repeat the process. You'll go out there, do more content, get more recipes, get more resources, craft new weapons and classes, and try them. And just like in Warframe, a lot of the fun in this game is just enjoying playing through the content and trying out different class and weapon combinations. And that's basically the loop. The whole game structure is just like Warframe, where what you're doing is you're picking a class to play. In Warframe, that was frames. In Soulframe, it's the packs. You're picking a class and then two weapons that you like, and you're leveling those up. They get more powerful as they level. You get more skill points in the associated trees. You spend those, and then you try new weapons. Like, that's literally all I ever do in Warframe. It's like I'm trying different weapons and just playing through the content with those weapons. And this game is similar to that. It's all about finding the recipes, getting the ingredients, crafting the weapons, the armor, and the packs, and then using them and powering them up as you play. Now, it is worth mentioning, as I talked about, this is a crafting focused game, and just like Warframe, with the crafting system, there are build timers, which, love it or hate it, this is part of how they're going to monetize this free-to-play game. A lot of the monetization stuff that they do in Warframe, you can pretty much expect to have some sort of an equivalent here in Soulframe as well, and I have some general thoughts on that. Warframe's monetization is fine and the devs are reasonable. Everyone's got a different opinion. Like, I'm not going to begrudge someone for saying they don't like how Warframe monetization is, but like I said, to me, I've never felt like it got in the way of me having a good time and enjoying the game experience. I've never felt like the way they do their monetization stopped me from having fun while playing the game or became a nuisance. And I do understand how people would say for them, build timers are absolutely something that gets in the way. They get the resources, they hit craft, and they have to wait 24 hours, and they're like, what the I wanted this right now. But I guess it's never bothered me for the same reason I just said it's not bothering me here while playing Soulframe, because there's always so much to do. There's so many bars to fill. There's so much progression to work towards. And you do that working towards capping things, your weapons, your class, etc. You do that while playing the game, and playing the game is enjoyable. I think if the game wasn't fun and I didn't have so much to progress towards, then it wouldn't be the same. And I would be annoyed if I felt like I need this weapon right now to have fun, or I need this class right now to have fun. But I'm already having fun with the class and weapons that I'm using currently. So any other classes and weapons that I'm crafting that have build timers, I'm like, I'll get to that when they're done. I might not even swap when they're done. I literally just unlocked a new class and weapons, and I'm not swapping to them because I'm still working on this one. You know what I mean? So I don't know. It's really interesting. But everyone's got different thresholds and what they consider annoying when it comes to monetization in free-to-play games. So I totally understand that. And once more, I don't begrudge people for feeling a certain way. Okay, so that's an overview of the core content of the game. Now let's get on to Preludes 12, the most recent update. What's new here? Well, one of the most exciting things that they've added is a hard mode into the game, referred to as Koga. Activating this will bump up the difficulty of everything out in the open world, while also granting access to enhanced versions of the world bosses that have their own unique drops. When you're in hard mode, the enemy levels of all enemies in the world get bumped up. I think it's like to 30 to 35 or something like that. Also, your character is given multiple debuffs. Your spells take longer to recharge, health elixirs will be dropping less frequently for you, and any form of self-healing gets reduced. Also, when you die, that's it. The ritual ends, hard mode is over, and you return to the normal difficulty version of the open world. Now, to actually access and unlock hard mode, you actually have to craft a potion. So you'll farm the normal world bosses, referred to as Agari, who will drop mushrooms, which you then combine with tree sap, and then you craft the Koga elixir. Then, when you're out in the open world, you chug the potion and instantly enter hard mode with a cool transition to boot. Okay, Koga Potion, ready? Koga Potion, boom, take a swig. And just like that, we're in hard mode. The moon is not very happy. Okay, so let's see, let's just see. I don't know what to expect. So we got some, oh wow, look at this. We got some bosses marked on our map. What level are you? You're level 30 already, okay. I think everything else that was around here was like in the teens a second ago, right? Okay, we've pissed off this troop here. Let's see how this goes. Where you leading your shots? Is that, oh wait, I've got a bunch of debuffs too. Look over my health bar. Got a bunch of debuffs. We're gonna kick you. Oh my god, I'm almost dead. I'm literally almost dead. We just started. No. The game's overall difficulty or lack thereof has been a general point of criticism over the course of the alpha that I've played over the past year, and this essentially directly addresses it. And there's one thing that I haven't thoroughly tested yet, but I do believe that hard mode gets harder and harder as you are in hard mode and you clear the bosses, which bumps up the difficulty further, and that process just continues. So really excited to dive in further. I've already enjoyed it from the little that I've seen thus far. Also with this update, they've added a brand new weapon class, which is the Great Swords. Now, I've not been playing with it myself. I've really just been focused on leveling my new love, which has been the bow. Really enjoying this playstyle, been tons of fun. But the Great Sword looks pretty neat, and I'm sure I'll get around to playing it. Prior to just recently trying out the bow, I've been mostly playing melee classes, so definitely interested in giving the Great Sword a shot, but it looks pretty cool. One other big request that they've had for a while is better onboarding, and they've directly addressed that here. There's been a new player experience revamped, providing some improved explanations of the game early on. So the starting flow has been improved. You will now wake up on the shore, you'll follow your sparrow to Grandfa's hut, and then receive some clear guidance towards cleansing the first world tree, which essentially is a system of fog of war clearing. There are world trees all around the open world. You go to it, you clear it, and it lifts the fog and shows you points of interest in the nearby area. There's also better tutorialization for the systems of Spectral Sight, the Guiding Sparrow, and some other early game mechanics, and they now have the option to test out the 3 different starting packs for Spirit, Courage, and Grace in the Nightfold before you commit to your initial starting class. Beyond those things, they introduced a few nice quality of life changes, better balancing for Enclave offerings and standings gained through the faction tales. That's just essentially the open world quest chain system. The sieges, there are castle sieges in the game. You go up to a castle, you bust in, and then you fight a boss and a bunch of enemies inside. Those got better and more rewarding. They've added fast travel to the game. You collect these Wevet seeds in Verminia in the Nightfold, and you can use those to then fast travel to any of the world trees that you've unlocked. They've also expanded Envoy customization with new hair and head options. There have been some improvements to totems and runes. The Ode occupation and overworld walls have been returned, and they've made some improvements to the co-op experience, improved UI notifications, and better map readability. And that, more or less in a nutshell, is everything there is to know about Soulframe. As I said at the top, the game is far from finished for sure. It's basically Tutorial Island, a sandbox that they're building out with more content and features, improving it with every new Preludes patch. But finished or not, it's been a sandbox that I've had fun playing around in, and I'm very much looking forward to seeing the game as it progresses closer to its final form. I can't wait to see how it progresses, because the fact that they consider this Tutorial Island and there's already so much here, like, I'm sorry, what? This is Tutorial Island? You're telling me this isn't even close to what the game's gonna be when it's done? Bro. I'm 100 hours deep. Like, what? What? Now, if you're interested in learning more, once again, we've got links in the description below. If you don't want to buy Founders Packs right away and you want to wait, you should note once more, there are tons of code giveaways happening all the time, so keep an eye out for that. But that's all for today's video. Thanks for joining me to check out Soulframe. Thank you once again to DE for sponsoring this video. And of course, thanks to all of you, as always, for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Take it easy.